Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Karina. Today by the title you can see that I'll be creating my own DIY rings with air dry clay. So lately I've really been into rings, as you can tell. I've always been a jewelry girl, which is I love my earrings and my necklaces, but not so much rings. And that's because of two reasons. One, I would always lose my rings. Two, I was very self-conscious of my hands, especially my fingers, because fun fact, I am double jointed, as you can see, my crooked finger. But over time, I've learned to embrace that because my hands actually do remind me more now of my grandma's hands and my mom's hands. So it's something that I've learned to embrace and love, even though if they're not perfect. But yes, so now recently I've been really into rings. Also, rings have been really stepping up their game in the jewelry department for rings. Everything's stepping up their game, and they're very fun, and you can find some really cool pieces, and I'm really into them now. So anyways, I came across a few inspirational videos that made me think, hey, I can create my own rings. So I came across a few videos, which I'll link below or mention them below, and I said I can make those rings out of air dry clay. Let me try that out. So who knew that I can make my own rings? So if you want to see the process of how I created my own rings, stick around and follow me on this DIY, and hopefully you can make your own air dry clay jewelry. Okay, so first we're gonna take some of the modeling clay. You want to make sure that you are grabbing the air dry one. That's just the easiest one because you just let it dry overnight. However, I mean, if you want to go purchase the one that you bake, you can do that, but I just feel like for me, I prefer just to wait a day. Depends how you want to go about it, but I really like this one. Like I said, this is my first time working with this type of clay, or clay in general, to make jewelry. So this is the brand that I use. Just after you're done using it, make sure that you close it nice and tight. And then what I do is put the rest in a little baggie and zip it up, and it should be good for your next use. So what you want to do is make sure that you start working the clay out. It's very important because the warmth or your body temperature is going to help you mold the clay. Now, another important tip that I forgot to mention is grab some water. The water is going to help you soften the clay. So just by adding a little water, not a lot, it helps you mold it better. So that's what you're going to do. Ideally, you want to have like a rolling pin. Don't use a rolling pin that you use to cook or to bake. We don't want to do that. You want to make sure that whatever you're using is just for your arts and crafts. But I don't have a rolling pin. Surprisingly, oops, it's alive. Although I've learned to love how to bake, I don't have a rolling pin. So I'm just going to mold this. I think I put a little too much water. So yeah, just be careful with not putting too much water because then it gets too slippery, as you can see. So I'll add more clay. And I also forgot to mention that you do want to make sure that wherever you do your project is in a place where you have some type of protection. I use this parchment paper just to protect my desk because this gets really messy, as you can see. So be aware that you're going to get very messy. Your hands are going to be very hard at the end of your project. I learned that the first time that I did it when I was recording this. So yeah. So now once you have your clay to a like a nice warmth and you can work with it better, you're gonna start basically creating magic. So this is where your imagination comes out. Roll it, like I said, ideally with your rolling pin, but your girl doesn't have a rolling pin, so we're using my fingers and the tools that I have. So just roll, roll, roll. And what I am going to do is I'm going to use one of my tools to flatten out the thickness of how I want my ring to look. You can see those little lines. If you don't want to be at the end, you'll see that I'm going to file the clay. If you don't want to do too much filing, you could just put just a tiny bit of water to help you get rid of all those lines and smooth your clay. So I think that's how thick I want my ring to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting it with one of my tools. So I'm using this tool and just start cutting. Now, of course, it doesn't look perfect, but it's going to be an abstract ring anyway, so it doesn't matter, girl. So again, I can take some water to smoothen all the cuts that I did, or mold it a little bit more to the shape that I want. So let's say this is the shape I'm going for. Then you're going to take your finger and measure it, or if you have a ring size little tool, I don't have that, I don't know what they're called, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Those where you can measure the size of your finger. You could use those, but I don't have one, so we're using my finger. Or you could use a marker, I think. Yeah, like a permanent marker as your base. So let's see. Just an idea. Eyeball it. See? So now what you want to do is mold that together, like kind of in a way glue it, but we're not gluing it. We're just going to start connecting those two pieces together by pulling the clay in, if that makes sense. It's not gonna look perfect right now, but it's okay. We can fix any little parts that don't look that great. So just keep blending those two pieces together. The great part about clay is that if you mess up, you can take it apart and reconnect them again, or add more clay if need be. But yeah, just work on molding those things together. Then just keep in mind that although it's air drying, you're not putting it in the oven. It might shrink a tiny bit once it's dry, but not that much, but still just take it into consideration. So just play around with how you want to mold this, the shape that you want it. So for this one, I think I'm just going to do a triangle or something. Let's see. So now that I have my shape, I'm just gonna put it to the side, and now I can start designing the actual ring and what I want to do with it. So for this one, I'm thinking of doing like a cross, not a cross, like a chain, crisscross chain effect. I'll show you. I don't know how to explain it. But as you can see, look at my hands. Your hands are gonna get super dirty. Your nails. If you want to wear gloves, you can, but I don't mind. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect them. Oops. Like that. And then I'm just gonna crisscross them. As close as I can get. Maybe I should do it thinner. I don't know. Then my idea is to put, no, that's too big. I don't like it. I think it needs to be thinner. Okay, now that I've connected those pieces, you just put it to the side and let it air dry for at least a day. So this is going to be a 2-3 day project almost if you're painting them, but I would say 2-day project. So you can put it again on a pen or something that's your ring size. So you see, if I let it dry like that, that's the shape it's going to get. So I want to make sure that it's the size that I want. Okay, and then I'm just going to put it to the side and let it air dry overnight. This one's going to be for my niece, so it'll be tiny one. So I already made one for her off camera. This is it, as you can see. But I'm gonna make another one. So the part of the cool part about clay making that I've discovered is that you can technically make any shape that you want, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because once they're dry you can go in and sand them, and take any lines off, make it smoother, even sometimes take some parts off if it's not what you wanted. So it's very cool. I really enjoyed making this. But yeah, so let's see. Oh, it might be a little too big for her. But we'll still make it. So this, I'm gonna use my shapes to make, I'm thinking a flower. Let's see, I should have maybe this one's, or let's see what else I have. This one's, that's a star. That, I know I had another one. Okay. This one, try to pull it out, as you can see, and then you can start just working the edges. And then to stick it to my clay, I'm gonna add some water, but that's not all. Taking this little tool, I'm going to connect the two in by pulling in the clay from the star, or vice versa, and connecting them, because that's what's going to hold them together once they dry. Because if you don't do this, then the star is going to dry separately from this, and it's going to fall off. So we want to make sure that's attached together. I'm going to go ahead and add probably another star. We'll see what I do. So yeah, you can add whichever shape you want. So I'll be using this ones for some other rings. So just keep watching so that you can see what other designs I came up with. I'm playing with some of this molds, and you'll see the ones that I did. This ones I did them overnight so that you can see how they look once they're dry. So this is what I did with those shapes. You see this one, it has a heart. This is how they look once they're dry. This is the other one, and then the other one that I made first is this one. This is how it looks once it's dry. So yeah, that's how they should look. I'm gonna play around more with some shapes, but I'm gonna show you how I made this one. It's like lips. Then I made this one. I made this one, but this one came out too small. But this one can go there. But ideally I wanted it there. Another cool thing with the clay is that, like I said, you can mold it to anything. So this, as you can see, maybe I'm not sure how clear you can see, but it has a K. So I carved, before it dried, I carved out a K and then did a bunch of lines. So I'm thinking of doing like painting this one gold, and it should look very cool. So that's another idea. Let's see which other one I made. I made this shape. It's very simple. It's just something like that. And now the fun part comes. Once you've created all the shapes or any type of design that you want, to just play around with your clay. You'll figure it out. The hardest one to make for me was this one. I really did struggle with this one. And I won't go into too much detail as how I did it because it'll take me forever. But just playing around, I took I made two long strings of clay, or one I mean, and then I connected them. This is just a quick example of what I did. Then I put it like this, and then I just connected the corners, and then start forming the lips. But again, you have to size your finger. You want to see how big you want the lips, how thick you want them. You see, you could even make a bracelet. There's so much that you can do, and use your tools to like carve out stuff, to put your name, to create those little holes. I think I was out of frame this whole time, but to create the frames, the lettering, anything that you want. It's possible with the clay, just about anything. So once you've let them dry and they look like this, the next part of what you need to do is start filing down your rings so that we take away any harsh lines, any fingerprints that you might have left. So as you can see, I'm just going to start doing that with all of my rings. Now that I have all my rings done here, I'm just going to take some paper of a magazine and put it here. You could use a parchment paper, but I have this. Use your resources wisely, just so that I don't get any paint on my desk. Because now we're going to start painting our rings. This is where the fun part is. You can leave them as they are, but again, that's up to you. I'm painting them. Another way to be creative, you can put any type of design that you want on your rings. Shout out to my sister Lottie for letting me borrow her paints so that I didn't have to go and buy more. Had a few, but I had to borrow from her, so shout out to her. And then you'll get your brushes. You could also use pearls or any gems that you have around or that you go buy. And I'm thinking of adding some of this to some of the rings and maybe just gluing them with the specific a specific glue. So yeah, be using those as well. Anything that you want to use. Not sure what happened to my audio here, but basically once you're done painting, you have to let them dry for 20 to 30 minutes depending on what type of paint you use. This is the type of paint that I use, so I usually let them dry for 30 minutes to an hour max. I do want to show you one piece that I did off camera. This was just using my imagination. I wanted to create a little tray where I can put the rings at, but something unique. And the earrings that I'm wearing on this video is what inspired me to use the colors, the design I came across this account, which I'll link it, but this is what I came out with. It's not perfect. I like all the imperfections here. I added the gloss, so as you can see, it's glossy. So yeah, I really like it, and that's where the rings will go. I added an eyelash. I just think it's a very unique piece. And yeah, once I'm all done with those other rings, I can add my rings. But I think it's another cool idea of how you can use clay and create all different types of things. So yes, isn't that cool? This is the final result of all the rings that I made. I think they came out pretty cool for my first time. I'm gonna keep playing around with them now that I got the hang of the clay, and yeah, so it was lots of fun. I definitely have some favorite ones and not so favorite ones, but again, I learned what to do, what not to do, and it was a good experience. So I definitely recommend to give it a try. So I'm gonna go over the rings so that you can see how they look. So let's start off with my favorite one. So this one's definitely my favorite one. I think it came out pretty cool. Definitely will be wearing this one. Looks pretty cool, right? Okay, and then I also really like this one, although I'm bummed that it didn't fit me. I'll wear it here still. So it's very cool. And then my other favorite one is this one for sure, with the little pearls. I really like that one. This one was pretty cool as well. The lips, very fun. I like the colors of this one, definitely. For this one, I think I would have just kept it all gold. I'm not sure I like the KM black, so I could always go back and paint over it. What other ones? These ones are for my niece. That's why they're tiny and they were in my pinky. That one, I got a little creative and did a little frog. Not my best work, but I tried. And then this one. So I'll be giving those to her. So yeah. And that wraps up today's video. I had so much fun making my own rings. I'll be doing it again now that I have a little bit of experience and know what to do and what not to do. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I did. And hopefully you come back to see more videos. I don't know what my next video might be. It might be a makeup tutorial. It might be a clothing haul. Who knows? Stick around and you'll see. But thanks for watching. Until then, have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye.